Data Voyagers.
Hello, Data Voyagers. I am Igor Alcantara, and I'm here with Angelika Klidas. And Angelika, where are we?
We are in Lund.
Yeah, we're in Sweden, where everything started, and we're doing a very special episode. And can you talk about our guest?
Yeah, well, our guest is Mike Capone, the CEO of Qlik, which is an amazing opportunity to ask some good questions, right, that we prepared.
Yeah, so this is going to be a great episode. But before we start, I just want to give you a few reminders. Make sure you subscribe to the Data Voyagers podcast, wherever you get your podcast. And while there, give us 5 stars. That helps in our statistic. That helps spread the Data Voyagers podcast to a larger audience. And support us by sharing and, basically with your followers and with everybody so then we can reach more people. So, Data Voyagers podcast, navigating the story behind numbers. Let's get to the episode. Hello, Data Voyagers. Welcome to another episode of the Data Voyagers podcast. I am Igor Alcantara. I'm here with Angelika Klidas.
Hi, allemaal.
And we have a very special guest. So, Angelika, want to introduce our guest?
Yeah, we have the one and only Mike Capone, right? The CEO of Qlik. Welcome to our podcast, Mike. Super excited to ask you some questions, and I think we can start rolling, right?
Yeah, thanks for being here, Mike. This is really, really meaningful and awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
It's a great pleasure.
Yeah. So we're here live from, not really live, but we are from Lund, Sweden, where everything started. So, and my first question is actually about that. So when Qlik started, many years ago, back in 1993, and the idea was to make a tool that was very intuitive for make data exploration, not for the query language, but for intuitive for humans. Long before like self-service analytics, any of those was a buzzword.
Yeah.
But then, many years passed. Since then, Qlik grew, acquired several other companies like Attunity, Talent, and now Qlik is, when I tell people Qlik is not BI, it's way beyond that. It's an end-to-end data platform. So my question is, what changed in terms of what Qlik was at the beginning to what Qlik is today, and what remains the same in terms of the true core values?
Yeah, well, it's a great question, as you pointed out. We're here in Lund, which is where it all began. And what was great back then is still great today, right? So what stayed the same is our core technology, the associative engine, the one our patented, super unique, ability to actually ingest lots of data into an in-memory engine and find patterns in that data that nobody else can find, no other tool can find. That still is a big differentiator for us today.
Yeah.
What really changed, that served us well for 15 years, as you know. What really changed was the world changed. And so when I joined Qlik 8 years ago, customers were asking a much bigger question. Your analytics are great, but more and more, my problem is harnessing data. It's getting data into analytics, finding it. It's all over the place. It's in the cloud, it's on premises, it's in mainframes, it's here, it's there. And then the second thing was the frustration around, okay, dashboards are great. I see all these dashboards. I know what's wrong, but nobody ever does anything about it, right? So I have all this information, but nobody takes action. And so what's different is that we wanted to address that problem for our customers. And so that's what set us on this journey of 14 acquisitions, as well as a lot of organic R&D investment to build this end-to-end data analytics and AI platform that you see today.
Yeah, great. So Qlik has been around for decades, right? And yet what I find truly amazing at it's so innovative that you're always looking for things to add and make it even better for our customers. What is the secret to stay relevant in tech over time?
Yeah, look, the main thing is you got to stay close to your customers. We're here this week meeting with our luminaries, who are our favorite customers. These are impassioned Qlik customers who really care about us and the technology. And we listen to what they say and what their needs are and how their needs are changing and how their company's needs are changing. Last week, or 2 weeks ago, actually, I was in New York with our executive advisory board. Those are CDOs and CIOs of, call it top 100 companies in the world, giving us advice. So I think first and foremost, to stay relevant, you have to be close to your customers. And then the second is you have to be bold. You have to be willing to take risks in this world. And when we went out and bought Attunity, people thought we were crazy. They're like, "You're a visual analytics company. What are you doing? You've never done anything outside of this. You've never done a big acquisition." But we knew that in order to stay relevant, we needed to look at the world a little differently and take bold steps. And so the Attunity acquisition, which is a public company that we bought, was the first step in sort of really changing the profile of the company.
Yeah, from there we turned, right?
Yeah.
Great. One of the things that everybody's talking about recently, like, is AI. A lot of analytics platforms saying, "Yeah, we have an AI." They adding just as a label, but for Qlik, in the Qlik way, what AI truly means.
Yeah, look, it's like everything else in the world. We were doing AI before it became fashionable, right? I mean, you both know Insight Advisor has been in our product for a number of years now, which is AI capability. We've had AutoML on our platform for quite some time. The fact that they crossed the chasm to more consumer-friendly AI, which is what ChatGPT and the Gen AI tools did, has really brought the conversation much more mainstream. But really, AI, it's nothing more than pattern recognition. We know this, right? It's what it's always been. I think two things make Qlik unique in the space. One, again, is our engine. We've already had the ability to bring disparate data together and see patterns in it. And then second is our focus on data quality and data governance and data harnessing, right? So a few years back when ChatGPT came out, there was a lot of hype. There's a lot of hype about the fact that this is going to solve the world's problems, right? I have a company, I'm going to plug in an LLM and magic, right? It's just, my company's going to be transformed.
Yeah.
You know what? 2 years later, here we sit, and there's a lot of disillusionment around AI, and it's because people didn't do the work. They didn't do the hard work to get their data in a trustable format to be able to use AI on it in a meaningful way. So there was a lot of hallucinations, whatever we call it. And so what we do is we solve both. We solve the just kind of AI problem, if you want us to solve it. But more importantly, we solve the underpinning, the foundational problem of data quality, data governance, data harnessing. We have a trust score for AI inside of our data products that allows customers to actually say, should I be even using AI in this data, or is it really not trustworthy and I'm just going to get a bunch of silly answers from it? And so that's what makes us special. And then the last thing I'll say is that we're completely independent. I think a lot of vendors today, they want to own the entire conversation, and they start with just give us all of your data and we'll help you with AI. We don't believe in that model. Your data is your data. We do business with you the way you want to do business with us. So if you want to use Snowflake, if you want to use Databricks, if you want to use GCP or AWS, it's fine. You know what? We'll take data from anywhere. We'll put it anywhere. Our tools work with everybody. We're quite happy. And if you want to switch, we're very easy to, we're very portable. So I had one customer who was all in on one hyperscaler. They got a new CIO. He had a fight with that hyperscaler sometime in his past life. It didn't go well. He immediately wanted to switch. That was a few weeks worth of work for us. So that makes us very unique.
Yeah, I think so too. So you just mentioned the large language models came and we had to switch, right? What was the turning point for Qlik to go completely into AI, so all in AI, not as an add-on, but actually as a core of the design philosophy? It was already, I think, because we had Qlik Insight Advisor.
That's right. That's right.
So how did you, because now I see more and more focus, I just was downstairs.
Right.
And with Qlik Answers, what turned it around?
Well, we always knew this day was coming.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, the decision to build, Insight Advisor was, okay, we need to put AI capabilities. The decision to, acquire an AutoML capability and build that into our platform, right? That was along these lines. But it was really in 2019 when we sat down, and Drew Clark was here with me, who was presenting downstairs, was our chief strategy officer at the time. Drew and I basically took a blank sheet of paper, and said, what's the world going to look like in a bunch of years? And it was super clear that AI was going to be dominant. Like we knew this. We knew this day was coming. And what do we need to do to be relevant? And it's like, oh boy, like, there's a lot more stuff we need to do. And that's when so the first step was buying Attunity, right? So we knew that harnessing data was going to be a big part of feeding AI. And then, as you know, like I was chasing talent for a number of years. I didn't have the resources or the capital to go get it at the time, but the patience is important, right? So I kept my private equity investors had separately invested in talent, and I just kept after them. Said, you know what, like this is the last piece for me. Like I have data integration, I've got catalog, I've got lineage, I've got NLP. What I don't have is the transformation, the data quality, and talent had that. So we did, a huge acquisition, brought talent in, and the rest is history.
Yeah, that's great, huh?
Yeah, very good. And now we are in a world where words like algorithm and automation, they are very popular, and we have sometimes I have the impression that the word is governed by like these keywords. However, I mean we're still human. I mean we're not cyborgs. What, in your opinion, remains truly human in the way we interact with data? Yeah,
look. The human in the middle is still an important concept, right? AI makes mistakes. It makes a lot of mistakes. I was using ChatGPT to try to predict the college football playoffs yesterday, like after the weekend of college football, and it was clear some of what it was spitting back at me was nonsense, right? Mathematically, it couldn't even go down the way that it was supposed to, the way it was saying it was going to go down, and that sort of critical thinking, that sort of reasoning. Before and super well because you're our partner in crime on what we call data literacy, right?
Yeah.
And it's you can't take things on blind faith, right? And so the ability to actually read, write, work with, argue with data is really important. It's the same with AI.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to argue with it, right?
Yeah.
And so I think this is important. Will we get to a point where once things are proven out, you can kind of push something into production and just monitor it for drift and take on them? Sure, but then the next one, the next one, the next one. I think the human in the middle is going to be very, very important.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm running this project now in the Netherlands, and they say in this project, my program manager, he says, Angelika, dashboards are dead.
Yeah.
We are only going to ask questions by NLP to the data. Do you agree with this statement? If so, what is coming to replace them?
Yeah, there's no such thing as an absolute. I hear people say dashboards are dead. For a while, people were saying on-premise computing is dead, right? Everything's cloud, and it's never that way. Look, we make a lot of money on dashboards still, so dashboards are not dead. That said, there is a trend towards moving away from dashboards, a sort of a static presentation of data, or even interactive dashboards, and moving towards headless analytics, I call it, sort of prompt engineering analytics, right?
Yeah.
And the reality is there's going to be both, and over time, people will probably migrate more towards the prompt, through. And you saw today we demoed Qlik running inside of using Claude, running inside of Anthropic, and like that's where the world is going. But it's an evolution; it's not a revolution, right?
Yeah.
And look, I mean, Cognos is still here.
Yeah, it's still here.
I mean, business objects is still here. Those things haven't been turned off. So it'll take some time.
Yeah.
But and by the way, paper and printing is still a really big business for us. Like, who would have thought? Like every week, people are blasting out PDFs of static reports to their executives, and that's how it is. Like so we don't deal in absolutes at Qlik. We say, look, here's where we think the world is going. We think it's going towards cloud, towards more AI-driven like prompt type of interaction with data. But we're going to support all paradigms until there's a reason not to.
Exactly. Yeah. It's mostly about adoption.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that that when I'm presenting Qlik to customers, I say, listen, there is not one way to do it. One great thing about Qlik, one of the many, is like it gives you options. So if you want to do this way, you can, or you can do that way or the other way.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, Mike, early on you said about like one of the key aspects of being stay relevant is to be in bold. So on that topic, I just want to expand a little bit more. What was one of the internal risks or bets that Qlik took recently, and what you learned from it? And if I want to add like a follow up, if I may, is there any, if there's actually, maybe there isn't, but if there's any like fail experiment that you learn from it, and then maybe inspire a product or breakthrough later on?
Yeah, well, look, if any CEO ever tells you that we never had any failed experiments or any failures, then you know what, they're being dishonest, right? Or they're not a good CEO, because it means they're not taking any risks and they're not being innovative and pushing the envelope. If you're going to be an innovative tech company in a fast-moving world, you're going to place some bets, and they're not all going to pay off, right? And I always tell people, I'm not a good CEO because I'm right all the time. I think I'm a good CEO because I can admit when I'm wrong faster than most other CEOs can, right? Because I make 1,000 decisions a day, and a lot of them aren't right. It's a good day if I get more than half of them right. So for us, I think a couple of things. If you talk about the risk, the risk was doing the Attunity acquisition, right? Because there's a lot of people who said, you guys can't do this. You've never done a deal this size before. All the deals we'd done previously, the imprinting deal, we did a deal for the UX on ClickSense. They were small, and this was big. And we did it, and we did really well, and we proved that we could do it. And that business has done phenomenal for us. Something that was, I'd say, a pretty big disappointment. One of the initiatives that we took on was something called Qlik Forts. I don't know if you guys remember that, but that was, and that was we were going to we built the ability to build a little fort, a little Qlik instance that would sit inside the customer's, data ecosystem, as a sort of an independent thing over here. And it never really took off. It was one of those, and look, it was my engineers, if you build it, they will come. And we didn't do enough market testing on it. We didn't really understand. Not a lot of customers wanted to deal with Kubernetes and all the other things that went with it. And it was a classic case of, the engineers are always right, and they're not always right, So the learning was we got to talk to customers. We should have spent a lot more time with customers saying, if we build this, would you use it? How would it work, et cetera? Now that said, what we got back was, we can't forget about that. But what would be good? Data mesh, and figuring out how customers could take advantage of analytics without incurring all the massive cost of data movement. Because every time you move data, there's a cost, right? It's expensive. And so what was born out of that failure was a lot of the M&A we did around sort of the building out the data mesh concept that we have today, and including the talent stuff. So that that's no failures, only learning.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Well, from failures you learn.
Yeah.
So Mike, if we fast forward 5 years in the future, what kind of company will Qlik be? Will it be recognized primarily as an end-to-end data and AI platform, or
something else? Yeah.
something else?
Yeah.
How do you look at the
again,
future?
I don't. There's never any black or white. What I always strive to be is the partner that customers go to solve the problem that they want solved, right? And that to me could be the end-to-end platform. Very often it is, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's, hey, I really need to move some data, and sorry guys, but I'm using a different analytics platform for now. But can you help me, get data? Can you help me get data? Use your data integration technology to get data out there.
Exactly.
And then with agentic, it's okay, yeah, Qlik is the company that is fueling my move to agentic, because Qlik is the one company that I trust to bring me high velocity, curated, trusted data, which is what I have to do agentic. So if people are saying those kinds of things about us, that means we have succeeded. But I always want Qlik to be not the thing I want the customers to see, but the thing that the customer wants to see, right? So yeah. I know I've succeeded. Yeah, I had a customer stand up in our executive advisory board and say, whenever we have a new problem, I always look to Qlik first to solve it, and it's why not Qlik, right? And to me, that's all I could ever ask for, right? That's it.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Now, for our final question, it's more a philosophical one. So with all these years working with data, navigating data, technology, change, I think is something important. You think you are getting closer to understanding data, or are we getting closer to understanding ourselves, our businesses, through data?
Yeah, it's a really existential question, right? Because it's I think a couple of things. We are harnessing data in new and powerful ways, right? You know, my before I came to Qlik, I was working in a life sciences company, and we were obviously the human genome had just been sequenced, and we were using data to help cure disease, right? And so as the tools get better, we're definitely conquering much larger problems with the power of data. And that's going to continue, and companies are doing really interesting things to improve their top and bottom lines with data. But we're also creating a lot of data. And you know, there is a little bit of a danger that AI is now creating data. AI is now creating its own data, right? Because every time AI gives an answer, that answer becomes into the public record of more data, right? So this thing, you know, it starts taking a life of its own. And again, if that answer is wrong, now you've got a bad answer out there that's perpetuating other things. So I think to answer your question, I think we'll never totally understand, but really I think the societal problem right now is how do we monitor this thing to make sure that we're not actually creating a big hot mess of with all the data we're creating, because we're creating exponential amounts of data. So and then, you know, the last piece is all the ethics around it. People ask me what keeps me awake at night, and they always expect me to say, you know, some competitor. It's not.
Yeah,
It's the ethical part of AI and data and what's happening right now with everything that we know we can do now with facial recognition and other things. And there are some companies, I think most companies, who are trying to be ethical about it, and then there's some that are not, and there are some countries that are not. And the private sector, people like me, have to take on, I'd say, a disproportionate amount of responsibility, because it's just impossible for governments, the legislative landscape, to move fast enough to keep up with the pace of technology. So if we don't do it, nobody will. And so I think when I think about like data and understanding it, and I think about that a lot, you know, the ethics of it, and who's taking care of our kids, right?
Yeah. Exactly. My thoughts exactly. Yeah.
So Mike, thank you very much. That was a privilege, pleasure, and we learned a lot. We sure that our listeners also learn a lot. Any last words you want to say?
No, really. I mean, it's always a great pleasure seeing you guys, and it was a really interesting conversation. And I look to maybe come back in a year, and we'll see what's changed and how much I was right and how much I was off of it.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you, and keeping exploring.
Data Voyagers.